You know that moment, you land on a new website, and before you can even read the headline, a little box pops up. You click accept without really thinking about it. We all do it, but what are we actually agreeing to? Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on that humble cookie banner and find out what's really going on behind that one single click.
Yeah, it's pretty much muscle memory at this point, right? We see the pop-up, we hit the button, and we get to the stuff we actually came for. It's just that little speed bump we have to get over to browse the web.
But that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? What does that click actually set in motion? What information are we giving away, and who are we giving it to? Let's dig in and find out.
Okay, so first up, let's tackle the why. Why do they want our data in the first place? The privacy policy we're looking at lists a bunch of reasons, but the two biggest ones, well, they're all about painting a super detailed picture of you.
The first major purpose is to build profiles for personalized ads. And we're not just talking about knowing you like a certain brand of shoes. Oh no. This is about taking all of your online activity, the articles you read, the things you search for, and mashing it together to create this really rich, detailed file about your interests, and maybe even your personality.
And check out this specific example from the policy itself. It shows how they connect dots you'd never think to connect. Maybe you look at bike accessories on one site, and then a luxury car on a totally different one. They can put those two things together and guess that you have a very specific interest, high-end cycling gear. And just like that, a new profile is born that can be used to target you everywhere else.
But here's the thing. It's not just about selling you stuff. They use that exact same profiling technique to personalize the content you see, the articles, the videos, everything. The goal is to make your whole experience feel tailor-made for you, which, keeps you scrolling, clicking, and staying on their platform. This is where it gets kind of wild. It shows how your profile literally follows you around the internet. The fact that you like vegetarian food on social media can be picked up by a completely separate cooking app, which then uses that info to show you veggie recipes right on its home screen. Your digital identity becomes portable.
And get this, that's just the tip of the iceberg. Those are only 2 of the 11 main purposes they list. The others cover everything from measuring how well ads are doing to developing completely new products. It's an incredibly wide-ranging permission slip for your data.
So that covers the why. But if our data is being shared, that leads to the next obvious question. The who. Who exactly are we sharing it with? It's just the website we're on, right?
Well, the answer for this one cookie banner is a big, resounding no. It's not one company, or 10, or even 100. By clicking accept, you are potentially sharing your personal data with 1,022 different advertising partners.
So let's be clear, this is not a simple one-to-one transaction. You're plugging yourself into this massive interconnected web of data brokers, ad tech companies, and analytics firms. Your one little click opens the floodgates to this entire network.
And here's just a tiny peek at that network. Look at the variety. You've got a company like TapX using good old-fashioned cookies to get your IP address and your exact location. But then you have others, like 014On, that collect probabilistic identifiers, which is a fancy way of saying they make educated guesses to identify you without cookies. And that brings us perfectly to our next point.
So how are they actually doing all this tracking? Because let's just say the technology has come a long, long way from the simple little cookie file that most of us have heard about.
First off, let's talk location. There's a world of difference between non-precise location data, which is basically just your city or region, and precise geolocation data. This one is a special category. It requires you to explicitly say yes, and it can pinpoint your physical location to within less than half a kilometer. That's pretty specific.
But what happens if you block cookies or clear them regularly? Well, that's where a much sneakier technique comes into play: device fingerprinting. This is where they actively scan your device for all its unique little quirks, the fonts you have installed, your screen size, your browser plugins. All those details are combined to create a unique identifier, kind of like a digital fingerprint. It's a pretty clever process. A script on the page basically asks your browser, "Hey, tell me about yourself." It gathers all these seemingly random details and mashes them together into a unique ID. And the real power here is that it can reliably identify your specific device over and over, without ever needing to store a cookie on it. And the tracking doesn't even stop with one device. The policy makes it clear that partners can link your different gadgets together. If you're logged into the same account on your phone and your laptop, or even just using the same Wi-Fi network, they can connect those dots and build a single, unified profile of you as a person, not just a device. All right, this brings us to our final section. And honestly, this might be the most important piece of the whole puzzle. What is the legal justification they have for doing all of this data collection and sharing?
You see, this whole system basically stands on two different legal foundations. The first is consent. That's what we all think is happening when we click accept. You're actively giving your permission. But then there's this second, really powerful justification called legitimate interest. In this case, a partner can process your data without ever asking you because they claim it's essential for their business. The data processing is on by default, and the burden is on you to go find the setting and object to it.
And you'd be amazed at how much falls under this legitimate interest category. We're talking about core business functions like measuring ad performance, understanding audiences, and even improving their services. So a whole lot of data processing is just happening in the background automatically without you ever clicking yes.
So, after all that, we're left with a pretty big question. When one simple click can open the door to over 1,000 partners who are using technologies that can track you even when you try to cover your tracks and who operate under a system where a lot of the data processing is on by default, what does our consent in that split second really mean? It's something to think about the next time that little box appears on your screen.